Hello, St. Louis. Yes, we are Ween.
Weencast, a Ween podcast with Shane and Rory. Hey, what's up? This is Shane.
And this is Rory.
And this is Weencast.
Hell yeah, it is.
And we welcome you to a new episode. What's going on?
Hell yeah, people.
Hell yeah, I love it. Okay, so we are going to go back in time once again, but we're going to be talking about a new year for us because we're finally cracking into 2003.
Yeah, dude. 2003, new year. It's awesome. I always feel good when we move on from one year to the next.
Yeah, wow, milestone type shit.
Yeah, dude, it just makes you feel like the passage of time, you know? And we're kind of moving like more solidly now into a new Ween era.
That's very true, man. It's very true. Well, before we do that, we're going to bring it back to the present.
Back to the future?
We're going to bring it back to not the future, but the present. We want to remind everyone, check out our summer contest and please enter. The title of it, Rory?
It's the stunningly staggering and stupendous Weencast Summer Contest.
Hells yeah. We want to hear about your favorite Ween show that you attended and why. Anything about it that you want to tell, something that happened to you during the show, before the show, after the show, what? Your favorite experience. Obviously, something that they played would be great. Some amazing solo, whatever it is. You can tell whatever story you want to tell.
Favorite Ween show and why?
So you can leave us a message on Spotify or record your message and send it to us, weencastpodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on the socials. If you have to type us something and go on and on and on and on and on.
If you type it, if you like send us a message, fair warning, I will probably read it on the results show with a bad Australian accent or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely licensed to do a funny voice. So just so we're clear.
It becomes fair game.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so
All in good fun. All in good fun. God bless.
yeah, totally.
God bless.
Whatever it is you want to say, send it into us. You have until Labor Day.
God bless. You have till Labor Day. God bless.
And there is an actual prize to be won. West Brandywine Woodworks is making us an all-new handcrafted woodwork prize. And it's going to be totally fucking sick, and you're going to want this in your home.
Yeah, dude. A woodcraft boognish is about as plain as I can describe it. I will be trying to get some pictures of some of the design work put up on the socials, but it's going to look beautiful. The best one yet. This is his 4th year running, and West Brandywine Woodworks has never disappointed. They've always given us some amazing woodwork.
No, all of their stuff is the shit. So if you're looking for some cool coasters or some other cool woodwork, hit them up on Instagram and Etsy.
Yeah, boy, for real.
Hey, this is Weencast. Hey there, sprinkle genies. You don't know that it's time for the stunningly staggering and stupendous Weencast Summer Contest? Seriously, don't you think it's time you submitted an entry? About the best live Ween show that you've been to? And why? Hello, Dolly. You're probably saying to yourself, why the hell would I want to submit an entry? Oh, well, listen, folks. The answer is very simple. The winner gets a beautiful woodcraft prize from West Brandywine Woodworks. Oh, I'm getting moist. Submit an entry on Spotify or email us at weencastpodcast@gmail.com or just hit us up on the socials. This is going to be the most swaggeringly ostentatious contest yet, so don't miss out.
Entries are due by Labor Day. Happy summer, everyone!
Is your cutting board dried out, ugly, and lacking luster? Do your tables have too many water rings to count and need a fix? Are your kitchen utensils old and damaged? Maybe you just want to add a little bit of natural wood beauty to your home. Whatever it is, you can count on West Brandywine Woodworks to provide for you. We make high-quality, custom hardwood items for your home. From cutting boards to shelving, West Brandywine Woodworks has you covered. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. Mention Weencast when you order for 21% off. So give us a like and a follow, and don't forget to mention Weencast for 21% off your order. West Brandywine Woodworks. Custom simplicity for your home.
And also, we want to mention, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Weencast podcast. We just uploaded a bunch of new stuff. We got some cool interviews that we made in preparation for our Claude episode that we just ran a couple of weeks ago. And a lot of new writing. And it's just great. We love it. We love doing the Patreon stuff. Tons of exclusive content on Patreon. Hit us up.
Doubtless.
Doubtless content on Patreon. And it's a lot of fun.
Doubtlessly redoubtable.
Okay. So the show that we are going to dip into, this is the first one that we're going to discuss for the year of 2003, which is May 7th, 2003 at the Pageant in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, shout out to St. Louis. The Gateway Arch, baby. Although I did not go up in it. I saw it. You can't go to St. Louis without seeing the arch.
Yeah. I guess that's true. I guess. Yeah. Same here. I've never been up in it, but I've been past it a few times. Yeah.
But yeah, dude, this is a great show, and I'm excited to talk about it. Unfortunately, you weren't in attendance.
No, and just talking about this show within the last few months, I didn't even remember that you were there. It was a complete lapse in my memory. So this is a completely fresh one to me.
Yeah, dude. Well, we have a great story to tell. Before we get to the pageant, I feel like it could be useful to kind of talk a little bit about where Ween's at this point.
Yeah, man.
So 2003, as documented in our podcast, Claude has the accident, and Josh Freese steps in for 6 shows to kind of round out the end of 2002. Claude actually comes back for a show in December of 2002, but then amazingly, already coming back and doing shows, and they end up doing a trio of shows kind of scattered about the first few months of 2003. There's 2 in John and Peters, 1 in February and 1 in April, and then 1 at the Culture Shock Music Festival. And I forget where that was, but that was in April as well. So they kind of scatter about these 3 shows early in the year as Claude's coming back from his injury. And then they kind of jump into a short little spring tour
Mm-hmm.
that starts April 30th in Tennessee.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a Midwest kind of thing.
I think it starts like in Tennessee, and then it kind of creeps down to Texas, Louisiana, I think Mississippi, but then it comes back up to Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, and whatnot. So at this point, we're doing the short tour. Claude is back from the injury,
Amazing.
and Quebec is getting bigger and bigger on the horizon.
Quebec is released on August 5th.
And we know that they were working on Quebec when Claude had his accident. So I know they continued to work on it in some ways, but undoubtedly that slowed that down as well, right?
Sure, of course.
And so with that now on the horizon for August, and we are now looking at May, right? It's just around the
Yeah.
corner, dude.
It's insane to think that he's already back, and it's like, even with the short tour, he's going to do that many shows. It's unreal.
Yeah, dude, they have 2 days off. I was just looking at it. It's 9 shows over 11 days, 2 days off. So that's pretty intense scheduling.
Yeah.
But hey, man, rock and roll. Rock and roll never dies and it never waits. So you just got to keep on rocking. And of course, they've been playing some Quebec songs for a while now, a little while now on tour,
Yeah.
right, Shane? I mean, some of the songs go back to the very beginning of 2002.
Almost a whole year at this point, because the Conduit is when the bulk of those songs were debuted for the first time. So that was in 2002 February. So basically, it's at this point it's a whole
Hmm.
year of, some of those Quebec songs were still a little rare, and some of them were starting to show up, basically every show.
Yeah, dude. 2002 shows the evolution of Zoloft from a experimental, like, hey, we're just trying this out, to by the end of the year, I mean, they're jamming it out like it's old news. But yeah, dude, so that's kind of like the status of the
Mm-hmm.
band at the time. I can tell you that they continue to just be in like rare form live, and this is definitely an excellent show. Should I talk a little bit about getting there and all that?
Please do.
So this is actually kind of an interesting story. I'll try not to make it go too long, but my wife Amy and I had been planning a huge, like a big cross country trip for months. Really for like at least half a year. We've been like saving up money and saving up money. It's just like we're gonna do this gigantic, like 6 week long cross country trip. And this was something that we were having to plan with work and like, laying everything out like, months in advance and getting everything kind of lined up. And so when this tour was announced, I don't remember exactly when it was announced or anything like that, but I just remember looking at the dates and thinking, oh man, like this lines up perfectly because we were in Illinois, in Normal, Illinois, to see my sister-in-law, like for like 2 days before. And then our friend Corey was living in St. Louis at the time. So it was just like, hey, we could do this. We're going to be traveling west, like at this very time. And like we should totally just like do this show. And then we could see Corey at the same time.
Wow.
So it was like perfect.
Yeah, and I had been along with you guys to visit Corey and see the Carbondale, Illinois show.
Yes, the year before.
The year, but yeah, that was in 2002.
Just about an actual year before. That was
Mm-hmm.
I mean the end of April, and this is the beginning of May. But it was notable because, I was thinking about this. I had to have known I was going to Corey's and this plan to go through St. Louis like well before I knew about the show because I grew my hair out as long as it ever been. Like I was like full on hippie at this point. I think I stopped shaving my beard or trimming my beard at all like 3 months before. In fact, you know what? Before the cross country trip, I would trim my beard all the way down. And when I got back from the cross country trip, I actually trimmed my beard, and that was the last time I ever cut my beard off completely.
Wow. So why do you mention your hair when it comes to visiting Corey?
Oh, well, I'm getting to that, my friend. So anyway, I'm like full on like hippie. I have like this big, huge beard that I've been growing for months, and I've been letting my hair grow specifically because Corey has a Flowbee.
Oh yeah.
And back in the day when I was young, so Corey went to Penn State with us as well, and we grew up with Corey. So anyway, with the Penn State years and everything, and otherwise, Corey got this Flowbee, and I would just get my hair cut with his Flowbee because it was cheaper. It was free, so it was cheaper than going somewhere for a haircut. I'm not going to claim that it gave the greatest haircuts,
Oh no, it definitely gave the greatest haircuts. Yeah, no question.
and it was a little bit noisy. So if any uninitiated out there, Flowbee is this like hair cutting attachment that connects to a vacuum cleaner. It's like a head for a vacuum cleaner. that you just like suck people's hair into, and as it sucks the hair into it, it cuts it.
If you're a younger fan out there, it was referenced in one of the Wayne's World movies. Like that was like a real thing. And back in our day, there was a commercial for it on TV. It's sort of one of those things like as advertised on TV, as seen on TV.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, like you had to like send away for it. Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Oh, it was fantastic. So I rolled into St. Louis, full on hippie hair as well. My hair was almost down to my shoulders, dude. The longest I ever had in my life. And I left there with neatly trimmed hair due to the Flowbee, but still with a huge beard. So it was nice.
Wow.
A little more Amish look, I guess. It was sweet. So anyway, it just worked out perfectly that we were going to be in St. Louis, and it was like, all right, line this up. And so we are going to go to this show and the pageant. I can talk a little bit about the venue. The pageant is like a longish rectangle where the stage is on like the long end of it. And then there is a relatively small little like dance floor. We'll have to put like pictures up on like, our post or whatever. And it's a pretty small little dance floor. And then it's surrounded on all sides by like table seating. And they call it, and this is very clever, I think, cabaret seating.
Yeah, there's a picture that Rory had found of just the empty like floor, and it's kind of like I don't understand what you would have there, like some kind of dinner show, like a dinner theater type venue or something.
That's totally what I'm trying to like visualize.
Yeah,
The style of the venue and these kind of things can have an effect on the music sometimes. And I want to say that it's not the only time they've ever played at the pageant. So they totally have played in the pageant like since then. But yeah, dude, so then there is an upper balcony that's just like seated, but it's like a regular kind of balcony.
right.
And there was space between the tables. Like I remember we were in the table area, but standing. It's not like we had to be like, oh, you have to sit, like it's like we were standing. But it kind of like has this effect of spreading everyone out
Right.
because they have all these chairs and tables in the way and stuff. So and then also in front of the dance floor area between the stage and the whole like audience is a really wide, at least like I'm gonna say like 5 feet wide, like gap. And then like a fence wall or whatever, a fence. Like so you can't even like reach like the stage. Like it's like really far apart. And the
Right.
stage is like pretty far up, like higher up.
Right.
So it's interesting because at one point, like Diener actually says, like, and we'll kind of circle back to this as well, I guess, but he's like, oh, it's like the abyss out there because he's looking out and he's like way above the crowd, and there's this giant gap before the crowd, and then on top of that, it's only this tiny little like square of people compared to everyone else who's like on this like cabaret seating area. So kind of weird actually.
Yeah.
And I think it's unique to any venue I've ever been to. I don't think I've been to a venue like that, quite like that before or since.
Yeah, I mean, like the some of the balconies kind of get like that to where it's like there's seating around, but it's like usually the floor is just like an open space.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is that, yeah, a balcony, but that's not a balcony. This cabaret seating is not a balcony. I mean, it's raised off the dance floor. Like you have to step into it, like step up, but like it's not a balcony. So it's so weird. It's like, why not just have it all be seating so you can pack more people in if you're going to do that? So, anyhow, but that's the pageant for you. Um, I guess that takes us to the show.
All right. Well, should I do the set list?
Yeah, if you don't mind reading it.
All right. Exactly where I'm at. She wanted to leave. Spinal meningitis. Piss up a rope. Happy colored marbles. The Stallion Part 3. Voodoo Lady. Albino Sunburn Girl. Bananas and Blow. Roses Are Free. She's Your Baby. The Mollusk. Take Me Away. Dr. Rock. Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony. Frank. The HIV Song. Ocean Man. Touch My Tutor. Going Gets Tough from the Get-Go, I'll Be Your Johnny on the Spot, Zoloft, Buckingham Green, Mutilated Lips, Never Squeal on the Pusher, You Fucked Up, and then for the encore, Nan, Papa Zit, Homo Rainbow, and Buenos Tardes Amigo.
Nice. Dude, you know, the show clocks in at like just over 2 hours and 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
like right around there. So it's a little bit short. And it's only 30 songs. But dude, there's some nice tunes in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You were saying it seems like a pretty compact show, but I think it's definitely full length. You know what I mean? Maybe for the time it might be a little on the short side, but I don't know. I think it's a good length.
Well, first off, 30 songs total is a little bit, it's a couple fewer. But it's interesting. I was noting that it's like the show's a little short. And then like I feel like you could insert like a freaking can't put my finger on it right there or something. You know what I mean? Like something that would be like 8 minutes. Boom, you know?
Right,
But yet the show's a little short.
right.
But nevertheless, I feel like the show's when I say it's compact, I feel like there's a little bit of everything, and it's all well done. And there's like a good amount of jams. There's also a little bit of the metal and the hard rock, but nothing like superfluous. Like everything's pretty well. The HIV song, I don't know, but I'm not a big fan of that, I guess. But like everything's like great in the show.
Yeah, man. And then you think it started a little on the early side?
Yeah, dude. At one point, Mickey's like talking about how it's like dinner with Ween, and there's like because all the tables, he's like, oh, it's like dinner with Ween, and he says something about it's kind of early for a rock and roll. Before she wanted to leave, he's like, it's kind of early for a rock and roll show. We're gonna have to drink extra to catch up, or something like that.
Right.
How's everyone doing? We're doing this mini tour thing here, and that's when I looked it up and realized it was only 9 shows. But yeah, they're like, there's this running gag, and then before Piss Up a Rope, it's like, oh, it's dinner with Ween. And then it's early, and then it's interesting to me because the show starts early, and then it's still kind of early, like or a short show. I mean, so it's both starts early and it's a short show. Like that's an early night. It's an early night, so I'm wondering like, is it like a curfew because it's St. Louis or what?
Yeah.
So I wish I had more information on that.
Yeah, that's when you start asking questions like, is there a reason that it started early because it had to get done at a certain time?
Hmm.
You know, and then it's like, all right, if it has to get done at a certain time, like, would it have gone longer? We don't know. You know?
Yeah, no, it's speculation.
Right.
But I know that typically their shows are longer.
Right.
So, and that's what's interesting is I don't feel like the show's missing anything per se. But nevertheless, you can see just by the numbers it's a little short. And then there's no there's no big epic end of the main set.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
Oh, give me some Reggae Junkie Jew,
Mm-hmm.
Give me like a 10-minute long Reggae Junkie Jew to go to head into the encore.
Right.
But exactly where I'm at is a second most common opener. They start bringing it out as an opener right around this time, and so I think on this tour it's an opener a few times. They're kind of sprinkling it in there as an opener. Pretty common nonetheless. Happy Colored Marbles is pretty awesome, and this is actually only the 8th time that's played. And I was telling you, dude, that a whole handful of Quebec songs had been played the previous year on tour, but Happy Colored Marbles wasn't unveiled until this year.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of funny. It's not one that's debuted the year before.
Hmm. And I know, and this ends up being kind of one of the singles, pretty much. Like I know that that's the song they played at the Carson Daly Show.
Right, right, right.
At this point, singles are becoming like a bygone thing. But something that interesting, dude, that I want to take a moment to contrast this show to you recently were at the Peach Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we noted at the Peach Festival is that there wasn't a lot of jamming. I think Frank, they jammed out, and was there something else in there? But there wasn't a lot of jams, even though it was a jam festival. And I
Right.
definitely don't think you were the only person who was like, "Oh man, I was just Jones, and I was hoping that they were gonna do like a jam out, you know?"
Right.
And then here we are listening to a show from 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and I'm just listening to this show, and Voodoo Lady and Albino Sunbird Girl, like they don't like merge them together, but it's totally like a little like jam block,
Oh yeah.
you know? And they didn't do anything like that at the Peach Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like two great jams in a row.
Right.
And Voodoo Lady's shredded, dude. Like I'm a broken record.
Well, I mean, we could say that a lot, but no, this show is definitely a standout for Voodoo Lady this night. It has an amazing like intro.
Yeah. And then in the middle of it, Diener's like launching into space. I don't even know how to describe it. And he's just like doing this just really whack solo that's kind of a bit disengaged from the normal melody or whatever of the song. And it's just like wild. And Aaron's even like raising the roof near him, is like pointing at him. He's like, woo, like people are like cheering and shit. It's interesting, even though the venue had this weird vibe to it, the early star and dinner out there. At one point, Mickey's like, oh, it's like an abyss out there because it's just like this like weird open space. Like, even though it had that weird vibe, like they totally fucking rocked it out, dude. Like they were totally like in the zone, you know? And so it was really cool, like Aaron like playing off at Diener's like solo and just being like putting his hands up and like exhorting everyone to like be like jam it, to like be screaming and shit. It's really cool. Albino Sunburn Girl is actually only the second Albino Sunburn Girl that I ever saw.
Okay.
Oh, it was my first Happy Colored Marbles, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But it was also that just came out.
Right, right, right.
But Albino Sunburn Girl, as actually Aaron does a good amount of lead guitar, especially during the intro. And one of the things about this show is that it's totally like a pretty big Aaron like guitar night. Like he isn't just like holding the guitar and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna play a couple rhythm chords." He jams on like several songs. I actually made a list: Albino Sunburn Girl, and this might not be complete. Roses Are Free, Frank, and Buenos Tardes Amigo.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. So he's rock. He's definitely like in on it. So it's pretty cool. And that's actually shout out to Stallion Mangs got the YouTube video because without the video, I wouldn't you would just think it was Mickey. You wouldn't realize necessarily it was Aaron.
Right, right, right. Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes whether or not it's Aaron doing something.
Yeah, dude. And then She's Your Baby. It's the first time I ever heard She's Your Baby. It's awesome. It was really good. Really nice.
Yeah, now how many times is that played up until that point? It couldn't be that many. Because that's fairly uncommon.
15. This is the 15th time that was ever played.
Okay.
And 68 overall.
And that's from what, yeah, so that's pretty uncommon, rare. And you think 15 times in 3 years because that's from White Pepper.
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
Oh, totally.
And it's a nice rendition of it too. It's nice and, calms things down.
She was young guy.
What else interesting? For Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony, Aaron reveals that he says this next song is called Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony by Ween, written on mushrooms. Sometime in 1992 in Seattle, I believe. So we get a little insight into his inspiration. So I think that's pretty funny.
Definitely the mushrooms loom large in the Ween lore. Everything goes back to mushrooms at some point.
Mushroom Festival in Hell. You know, it's funny you were just mentioning it's Pat before before we started, and Safeway, man.
Yeah. Those aren't hallucinogenic mushrooms. They're from Safeway.
That's all I know about it, dude. That's all I fucking know about it. Frank is pretty fucking awesome, which I think is pretty typical, I guess, but nevertheless, you gotta love Frank.
Yeah, I love Frank. Definitely in my top 5.
And it's totally another Aaron really freaking jams out on Frank, which I seem to recall it's totally how he did it on the reunion tour recently. So it's pretty fucking awesome. You know, it's funny, like, I don't know, Aaron, I guess, has these phases, and he hasn't always been, like, a huge, strong, like, big-time guitarist, but I feel like if you discount him, you do so at your own peril, because he's totally capable.
Absolutely he is.
You know, another funny thing I saw during Frank, and this is another thing that you get from the video, Dave is bobbing his head along. Dave doesn't have too much action during the show, but he's totally, like, bobbing his head along like Frank is really funky. Frank is really funky. It's crazy bluesy, you know? It's got a vibe. I'm vibing it. The vibe is real. It's a classic. I feel like it's a pretty good set list of that era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think about some of these tunes, and when I say that, like another one, for example, is like The Going Gets Tough from the Get-Go.
Yes.
Like, that's
Absolutely.
pretty fucking sweet. Like, it's pretty uncommon. I think it got more airplay maybe back then.
Smack dab in the middle of a situation overlooked by fools.
Well, I want to say it really just started becoming something in like the early 2000s like that, like maybe even in 2002, because I remember listening to it, not actually being at the show, but listening to like one of the shows on CD from that time period. And it was like, the first time it was really busted out. You know what I mean? So it was definitely something from that time period that was starting to like come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, a lot of those, Frank, Going Gets Tough, Never Squeal on the Pusher is played.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man. Little ditty.
And it's before It's before they really started like stretching it out and having it be like one of the actual like real jam outs. It just has like a section of Claude doing a nice like drum solo in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's before they really made it something. I think it's about 4 minutes long.
I want to say that I'll Be Your Johnny on the Spot is totally jammed out. In fact, I'm checking in the Internet's archive. The Internet Archive. Should tell me everything I need to know. No. Well, I mean, it's still shredded, but it's only 4.5 minutes long. That's the classic Ween maneuver. Is that like the songs aren't always long. There's totally doesn't mean there's not going to be like a minute long like Diener guitar solo in the middle. That's like absolutely shredded.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty standard rock format when you think about that.
And Jeaner with the megaphone.
Oh yeah, and Johnny on the Spot. Oh yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he starts out by screaming, "Ah," you know, like which is pretty fucking brown, and that is kind of heading to like, you know, the climax of the show because you got Zoloft and then Buckingham Green, right? Which is common shit, and Zoloft is already establishing itself as a common, even though it's a Quebec tune.
Right.
And then they round out the main set. I feel like that's where like you miss like the longer show. Maybe there'd be a couple more songs mixed into that first set.
Well, you know, I mean, some of them would end with that sort of like, you know, mini rock block, you know. But you're right. There normally there would be something else in there that would be a little bit on the longer side. It's true.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, and then the encore. I mean, Papa Zit is pretty uncommon, but it's I don't know. But Homo Ramos is pretty fucking cool.
It's gonna work out fine. Homo Rainbow. Yeah.
Or the Rainbow. You know, can you solve that puzzle for me? I've noticed that some places it's titled as the Rainbow, but I always thought it was actually called Homo Rainbow. Is it called the Rainbow?
Well, it was originally from South Park album. Am I right?
Yeah,
So what is it? What is it called on there?
I'm not sure.
Well, let's find out. So on the South Park album, it's just called The Rainbow.
Okay. So I've seen it in a lot of places called the Rainbow, but I also see sometimes called Homo Rainbow. Anyway, it's all good. What's something that's notable about that is they do a shout out to Queens of the Stone Age. They dedicate it to them, and they're in attendance.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
Yeah, dude, and that's really crazy because we were just talking about how like the whole Claude accident and the connection with Queens of the Stone Age and Josh Freese.
Right.
And here we are, you know, at this point, you know, almost a dozen shows later, they're like Claude's back and rocking, and Queens of Stone Age, they've you know, are obviously open about the influence Ween has had on them. But here we are, you know, it's like this connection keeps on coming back around.
Yeah, man.
So that's pretty cool. And then they wrap up with Buenos Tardes Amigo, dude.
Pretty epic.
Yeah, this is a really fucking baller epic version. It clocks in at 13 plus minutes long, and it features Aaron doing a major solo on the guitar. It's 3+ minutes long.
Yeah, on the acoustic.
I clocked it in. Yeah, on the acoustic, man. He's just going on and on. And it occurs to me that the venue didn't have a lot of smoke. Maybe they wouldn't allowed to have smoke machines. Sorry, it's a segue, but anyway, the smoke machines. Where was all the smoke? Now that I'm thinking of it. Anyway, Aaron, he's going on and on so long, and at one point he cuts himself on and he's just like, God damn, like this, like it's just like hyping himself up, kind of like raising the roof, kind of thing. But then he keeps playing more, and he says something like, "Oh, you want some more?" or "Oh, how about this?" And he just keeps going on and on. And I actually wanted to ask you. I don't know if I remember seeing it before this time with Aaron doing like the big solo himself.
Yeah, man, we'll have to do some digging and go back and watch the video because there again, sometimes it's hard to tell like who's on guitar when you're just listening to the audio recording. So,
Yeah.
watch some of the the videos from back in this time period and kind of, figure out when that's had originated from.
Because I want to say that didn't we talk about this a little bit for the last year with 2002? Because one of the shows had Buenos Tardes Amigo, and I seem to think that I said to you, "Oh, I was thinking that was the one with Aaron doing the big solo." But
Mm-hmm.
then I don't think it ended up being the one. I think I was like, "No, it wasn't."
So maybe this is the one you were thinking of.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, dude, this song alone, it's worth it to listen to this show
Oh, sure.
because they bring the house down. It's awesome. He's like, just, "Oh, I'll give you some more, I'll give you some more," and then he puts his hands up, kind of like, "All right, everyone's got to stop. All right, guys, quiet down, quiet down." But then he keeps jamming. But then he does that again. He's like, "All right, I got to bring it back together. Got to bring it back." And then they wrap up with the ending. It's a really fucking epic when it starts Amigo. Although again, no, the fog machine wasn't in effect.
Well,
At least I don't think it was.
life's not perfect. What can you do?
No, man.
It's got some great highlights and it's got a couple of good recordings too. So, as Roy had mentioned, there's a full length video of it on YouTube, and there's a couple of different audio recordings of it on archive that sound really good. I mean, I played it and I certainly didn't think, oh, well, would be nice if there was a better recording. At least the audio for it was pretty sweet. So, shout out to all the guys who taped the show.
Totally. I found the archive.org audio was better than the YouTube, which can be a typical thing, but nevertheless.
Yeah, that's pretty common. Like somebody just
Yeah.
uploaded the original, audio that was part of the video that was made. That's pretty
Yeah.
common.
It was funny. I actually like put them next to each other on the screen and synced it up for every song. So that way I could like watch it but still have the good audio.
Right.
Because the better audio, it's easier to hear the banter and whatnot. So absolutely, can be a little bit better to hear. And yet, I wanted to make sure I saw the video, kind of pick up on some of those nuances.
Yeah,
It's
that's
important.
cool.
It's important to see that abyss, and it's pretty intense. Like it's kind of wild, like that big gap and like the openness of all the space. But anyway, they came to rock, and they did. They were like, "We're burning this house down, even if it's all spread out and fire resistant. We're still gonna burn it down." Figuratively.
Yeah, and just looking at the times that they played St. Louis, this is I guess the fourth time
Wow.
that they play St. Louis, and then it's the first time at the pageant, but they would play there again 2 more times. So you were right.
Yeah, I saw that there was at least another show on archive.org.
Yeah, they played there again in 2007 and then 2018.
Yeah, reunion style.
Yeah, man. That's crazy to think they came back to the pageant. That's 11 years later.
Yeah, man.
So for one of those reunion, well, we can lump them in with the reunion shows, I guess. They played there again. Pretty cool.
What do you mean lump them in with the reunion?
Just the fact that it was in 2018, so it's after they come back and.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, it's all the reunion era.
Right.
If we break it down by eras,
Yeah.
you could argue that we're moving out of the reunion era at this point with
Right.
a full tour. we're getting back to like current time. Like they have a full summer tour. It's the most touring they've done in a year
Mm-hmm.
since 2003.
Right.
Since this year we're talking about.
Right.
Like and if you look at I think, or around the same amount, if you look at the series of years after 2003, 2004, all the way to 2011 or 2000, most of those years, there's like really, and there's reasons for it and the shit that we're going to be talking about, but there's like, 18 shows, 25 shows.
Right. Yeah, there was 26 shows total in 2018. That year that the last time that they played the pageant.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the reunion, yeah, yeah. And so
Right.
then, I mean, I was talking about before the reunion, but bringing it back around. Well, I don't know if you have anything else you want to say about that show. I mean, I think we covered everything pretty much.
I'm glad that you guys were able to go and it certainly I don't think would have ever showed up on my radar.
Yeah, dude, I just think it was like at this point in my relationship with Amy, she's a big Ween head. And so I know that, and this was early in our relationship. So I was fully engaged and I was like, oh, I have this woman who is like on board with Ween. I was just like, we got to go to as many shows as we can. She's my car. I didn't have I was a hippie style, you know, being selfish, but joking about it. But so it was just something that lined up, man. It was just like, dude, we're doing this trip. We should fucking do this show.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because that's not there were shows. If we were just going to go to shows on that tour from home, we were living in Spruce Creek, Pennsylvania at the time, which is about 45 minutes west of State College, about. And so a little closer to points west. But there was a show in like Cincinnati, even in Illinois. I think Carbondale, Illinois again or something. But at any rate, closer than St. Louis. Shoot, the Tennessee show would be closer than going to St. Louis.
Right.
You know, so it was just cool that I wouldn't have gone otherwise.
Well, and I mean, as big of a year as 2003 winds up being as far as dates, that little spring tour is not very big. And it's pretty clutch that you guys went to one of those. You know what I mean? Cuz it's not like you said it's what, 9 dates, you know?
Oh yeah, totally. That's a great way to think of it.
Right.
And they only do 2 Quebec songs, so they're not yet touring for Quebec.
Right.
Come the end of July and August, and the rest of the year,
Right.
you're going to be hearing a shit ton of Quebec songs.
There's a lot of dates yet to come in 2003, but there wasn't a whole lot for that spring. The majority of the dates are later on in the summer
Yes.
until the rest of the year, basically.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they have a summer tour. They go overseas, and then they do
Mhm.
more shows as well after they come back, I believe.
Right.
So they have 70 some shows this year, and it's the most all time. This is the most Ween shows in one year. So at this point, we're early in the year. And you're right. That is a neat way to think of it. Is that there's only 9 shows on this tour. So like them doing the shows this kind of style. This is like pre-Quebec when they're obviously not, because like during the Quebec tour, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see that the shows are gonna have like 6, 7, 8 or whatever Quebec songs,
Right.
right? Like they're gonna be like showcasing those songs. Nevertheless, this show only's got 2. They totally could have played, they've already unveiled several other. And then, and we see them next in Club Laga in Pittsburgh in July, which is the opening show of the summer tour.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. 2003. Everybody, fasten your seatbelts and hold on because 2003 is a busy year for Ween and Weencast. And we were there for a lot of it. So we'll be regaling you.
Yeah.
And who knows how heck long it's going to take us to cover all this shit, but
It's been 20 years. So let's unearth some of these 20-year-old shows. We're going
yeah,
back to
dude.
it this year, man.
Yeah. Anyway, man, I don't know if you got anything else.
That's all I got. Everybody join in our summer contest.
Thank you for listening. If you're still on here, we're wrapping things up and you still playing and you haven't just shut it off because we're talking about bullshit. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for listening.
That's so cool. That's all I got. So peace out.
Yeah, peace out, everybody. Love you.
Good night, Springton. Springfield. There will be no encore.